Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is brought to you by the fact that I brought to my attention that I haven't done a best mods of 2024 so far. I would usually wait until the end of this year to do it, but I figure why not go over some of the best mods that have already come out. So if you guys end up liking this video, because I will do an actual video by the end of 2024, make sure to hit that like button down below, and also make sure if you download any of these mods to endorse the mod author. But as of right now, let's dive right in, and I hope you guys enjoy. Watch some guy in my comments get mad and say I'm only showing popular mods. But the first mod up today is a mod called NPCs Take Cover Smarter Anti-Cheese AI. This mod prevents the AI bug where NPCs would commonly just freeze up and stare at you if you somehow got to a location that they couldn't reach or process, which essentially created a free kill for you. This mod changes that in the NPCs AI, so now no matter what AI overhaul mod you have, they will now take cover behind walls or whatever they can find to avoid dying to you. And what's great about it is that it's based on where you currently are. So they won't always hide in the same locations. So they'll pretty much just wait for you to come down. But while we're on the topic of bandits, that brings me to my next mod, which is called Extended Bandit Dialogue. This mod will not replace bandit dialogue, but instead expand on it. These bandit dialogues can be heard while you're just being undetected around bandits, but also when you're in combat with them, and it is completely random. It will be based on what item you're currently using to fight them with, but it will be mixed in with vanilla dialogue, which makes it random. Extended bandit dialogue is one of those immersive mods that you add to your mod list, and it kind of blends so well with vanilla Skyrim that you forget that the lines were added by a mod, until you don't have it and then you don't have the explicit content. Up next, we have a mod overhauling Whiterun in a much needed way in my opinion. This mod is called Whiterun Has Walls Redone. This is a massive wall overhaul to Skyrim that is still currently being updated and supported. And the main difference between this and any other Whiterun wall overhaul is that this one extends to even the interior of Whiterun, coming with dozens of patches for most of Whiterun overhauls such as Capital Whiterun or even JK's for Whiterun. And while it might not be in the best interest lore-wise to give Whiterun defenses an overhaul of this magnitude, because these walls in fact could defend against a dragon. But what makes this mod so great and worth having is the fact that everything about this overhaul has already been nav meshed for you, so you can see guards walking along the walls if you care to look. From a compatibility and non-headache side of view, if you're going to have any wall overhaul for Whiterun, this is the one you want. But now on to an overhaul of even bigger magnitude. This mod is called JK's Fort Dawnguard. This mod overhauls the exterior of Dawnguard Castle, giving new fortifications and new areas to fill with NPCs once you start to rebuild the Dawnguard. This overhaul, due to it being in an already pretty empty area being the Dayspring Cannon, besides the floor, will cost you little to no FPS while also increasing your immersion massively. But the exterior wasn't the only thing that was changed. The interior was also overhauled, albeit not too much though. This is one of the overhauls where JK didn't go crazy with the interior, giving you 40,000 draw calls. But this will mean that you will see much more of the changes as the Dawnguard questline progresses. As of right now with the beginning of it, the changes are pretty minimal. With the changes to Fort Dawnguard, changes were also made to Castle Volkihar, but that one was unfortunately not as popular as this one, so it didn't make the video. Not to say that it wasn't as good, but it wasn't as popular. Up next, a simple mod. This mod is called Born in a Barn, adding blankets and curtains to windows and doors of shacks. These pieces of cloth will react to the wind, so they aren't completely static, but you unfortunately cannot interact with it. It will not move when you walk through it. And I do believe that is just the limitation of Bethesda's creation engine, because I've seen people try to implement that into Skyrim and it just didn't work out, too many crashes. So this is the safe alternative. But nonetheless, it became wildly popular, just like this next mod, which is called Animated Ships. This mod adds new ships filled with NPCs that will sail the open waters of Skyrim as up close or as lots, as well as the docks of Skyrim such as Solitude Docks or even Dawnstar. Every ship will have their own set path and will rotate between these, hence why you'll see some of them rotating. It's because they're just following what they're supposed to do to avoid bugs and them ending up on land somehow. Some of the ships, if you really go looking, and you have to swim pretty far out honestly, even have enemies such as dead skeletons that you can kill most of the time. And I highly recommend to combine this with their next mod, which is called Animated Carriages, which does essentially the same thing but for carriages as in the title. Every carriage will be random as to who is driving the carriage, as well as those who are in the back. So sometimes you'll see prisoners or just soldiers sitting in the back because they wanted a free ride. But one fair warning is that everyone sitting in a wagon will have the same animations, and that was that of the prisoners at the beginning of the game, so they kind of all sit the same and there's really no difference. And now moving on to a furniture replacer. It's weird one of these made this video, but this mod is called Ignoble Beds. I guarantee you modders in 2023 probably never expected a furniture mod to be one of the most downloaded in 2024. But this mod completely replaces upper and noble beds, applying wonderful artwork to them and carving the wood so it looks like more than just a simple bed frame that anyone could get. Hence why you'll only see this bed in fancy inns, such as Bandit Mare and for people living in Jarl type quarters. And if one color isn't enough for you, you can grab the base object swapper optional file, which has multiple color variants. And now moving on to another mod I was surprised about. This mod is called TMD The Rift Leaves, TMD being the mod author's name. But this mod adds fallen leaves to the waterways of Riften, just along the edges of land as you walk through it, as well as in the inner city of Riften. There is no option to have green leaves though, but either way, leaf doesn't fall unless the tree is starting to turn for fall, so it kind of makes sense. And because it's applied as a texture rather than separate objects, it doesn't affect your FPS. The next mod up is the mod Dismembering Framework, which just got an effective update, removing most of the bugs with the original and also removing any reason why you shouldn't use this mod. This mod makes it so upon hitting any enemy with any type of weapon, a factor will be applied to that weapon, and also where you hit, that will determine if the enemy should be dismembered or not. Which is also why this mod does softly require precision so that your weapon can hit the correct body part. And that's also why if you're a psycho, you can also dismember creatures or humanoids after death. There is also an MCM that comes with the mod. It might be a little complicated to new modders to understand, but using it you can determine what weapons can decapitate or dismember and also the percentage of it happening. But the reason why I say it's complicated is because even at 100%, it won't 100% dismember. Usually I would censor that part, but other YouTubers got away with it. So up next, we have a few armor mods, with the first one being Ysmir's Armor by Fourth Unknown, adding a unisex armor that you have to get in Fourth Unknown's usual fashion, which means you'll have to find it yourself with no clues, only riddles. But luckily someone always pulls it in the comments, so check the mod page if you want to know the exact locations of every piece of this armor. And besides just armor, if you go down to the optional files, you can also find a custom weapon that you can grab called the Atmorian Battle Axe. If I said that wrong, feel free to let me know down in the comments. But you also have to find this weapon in a chest, just like the rest of this armor. Up next, the next mod is called Eastern Brassplate, adding a custom heavy armor to unisex armor that can be crafted once you get the Dwarven Smithing perk. This armor also comes with its own set of HCT to walk around with, just for those people that need that, myself included. But to complete this set fully, a small hammer and a shield was added as well. And if you choose a cloth version of the shield, because there is two versions, the cloth on the shield will also move. And while the hammer might be pretty small, I still think it's a little above average. And it definitely deals a lot of damage, so it's definitely not the size of the hammer, but more so how you use it. But I guess everything can be pretty strong when it's based on Dwarven stats. The next mod though is fully female characters only. This next clothing mod is called Magecore, adding dozens of different armor pieces to your game for your character to wear. And if you have the Spitfire like me that you're seeing in this video, you can also see them wearing it. There's so many accessories that go with this. Everything is completely modular with the outfit, so it can be just as not safe for work as you want it to be. The only thing I advise, if you use a cheat menu like me, do not add all the items to your inventory, because there are almost hundreds at that point. But at least you can make it just the way you want it. Up next, and the final armor mod, also female only and pretty recent, but this mod is called the Vindicator Armor. And while this armor is highly modular, pretty much everything on this can be unequipped, down to even just wearing the gloves and not even the gauntlet part. Not even sure that makes sense, but you'll definitely get it if you download this mod. This armor only comes with one variant though, albeit with being so modular, which is the green under armor. And yes, this armor pretty much supports every main body on Nexus, even Himbo, somehow. I would love to see that honestly, but now we're moving on to the next mod for the Sleeping Hist tree. Overhauling the Sleeping Hist tree with one simple mod called Sleeping Hist Tree Overhaul. It's a pretty simple title by Skyfall. Considering Flora is one of the most overhauled aspects of Skyrim, this was probably the one thing that got overlooked for many years until this mod came out, which completely overhauled the tree as well as the surrounding elements of it, just adding a bit more immersion. The one caveat that people might notice is that the tree is green now, which might not fit if you're not going for a green tundra. But if you go to the optional files, you can download the leafless version. Up next is texture overhaul I most likely will never be removing, but this mod is called Skyking Signs. Taking a different spin on Skyrim signs, like adding more color to them, rather than making them a lot more lifeless like some mods did. But on top of the color, it also adds new art that fits the shop that the sign is for. The meshes were also changed with this mod, but I figured you mostly focus on the new textures provided for this. And if you go and grab unique signs, also by the same mod author, but if you use the two together, then that mod will overhaul the mod added location, such as if you use interesting NPCs. But stepping away from the super simple mods, this next mod adds a completely new land for you to explore. This mod is called Siege of Icemoth. I'm not sure why I didn't showcase this mod before, but to fix that, this mod is a showcase and not a review by the way. With this mod you travel to a new fort that just happens to be surrounded by a few islands that are all explorable. This location is a completely different sail from Skyrim, so it shouldn't cost you any FPS, and you get to it by using the boat that was previously shown at the start of this showcase. In this location you will have a quest that is started by a journal from the dead NPC at the start, with the rest of it just being exploration and finding new items to bring back to Skyrim. Of course it is never just that simple though, as just grabbing items, you will have to fight your way through the undead horde. But of course with them being undead, you can pretty much level up endlessly. What's really great about this quest is that it doesn't force you to wait until late game. You can pretty much start this at any time, as long as you're well prepared. Every island has its own history and books that you can read to find out what happened, as well as its own dungeon type with slightly different enemies for you to fight. With the named ones also being bosses, where you can find those certain items that I mentioned before. Every item will have its own value as well as its own special enchantment, but I figured I wouldn't spoil everything about this mod, especially considering I decided to not do it in a sort of trailer style this time, but just a full showcase. Even though this mod got a lot of downloads, it's definitely one of the lesser talked about mods, and I highly recommend it. And you get it all in less than 100 megabytes. Up next, an immersive animation mod with the name EVG Clamber Slope Animations. When you or any NPC really go up a slope or even just stairs, a new animation will automatically trigger using Open Animation Replacer that will make it look like your character is having a little more difficulty moving up the slope rather than just sliding up it like an escalator. Of course the animation is different depending on how fast you're moving, so if you're walking it will simulate that, but if you're running it'll be a little less detailed, but it'll still be pretty immersive. This mod is plug and play, but it does come with the MCM if you want to change things around. And that was pretty much it for today guys. Let me know what you thought about this selection of mods. As of right now, these weren't personally my favorites because my favorites have less downloads, but they were the most popular mods of 2024. So if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button down below. And hope you all have a great rest of your day. Peace and love guys.